And I feel like this is a great podcast, no matter where you are in your publishing journey. I think if you're brand spanking new, I think you can learn a lot about what's ahead of you and what to think about. And then I think if you are a jaded veteran, you can seek, solidarity and stuff like that.
Writers and Crafters, I'm Valerie.
And I'm Erick Mertz.
And this is episode 129 of the podcast, and it's September 13th, 2023 as we record this. Today, we're talking with Jeffries about non-traditional writing prompts. So I'm super excited about that. We're going to do the housekeeping part first, and then we'll get into the interview or the discussion.
Discussion.
Yeah. It's less interviewing. Okay.
It's less interviewing. I like that.
Thanks to all of our existing patrons for believing in us and the podcast. You can go to patreon.com/Valerie Isan for as low as $1 a month to get a bunch of goodies. And you can also go to patreon.com/Strange Air Stories if you're in the mood for a paranormal mystery genre. It's spooky season coming up.
And aren't you in the mood for a paranormal mystery? Come on.
Right? Come on. Oh.
It's like an ice cream bar. It's like,
it totally
it's chilly.
is. Okay, announcements. So my group coaching cohort for the fall started yesterday. So if you are interested in joining that weekly group coaching it's weekly coaching for 3 months long. So we go until I think December 19th. You can go use the discount code podcast for 10% off in my shopping cart. And it's not too late to join. So I just kind of we just sort of got to know each other yesterday. And so there's still time for you to join if you would like. So valerieisan.com/coaching, you can read about it. Let's see. Oh, I did want to say that the early registration for the 2024 retreat opens November 1st for the public. So if you want early access to the early bird registration, that's October 1st for patrons. So if you want to become a patron this month, then you can get the early access to the retreat tickets, which did sell out. Then cool, go check that out. And I'm in a new anthology for Tsunami Press, and I have my essay in that anthology. You can pre-order it by going to tsunamibooks.org. And I'll put the link in the show notes. It's due out the beginning of October, and you can pre-order it now. What about you, Erick? You got any announcements?
Well, yeah, I guess I'm down to the last chapter in rewriting Season of the Shadow. Pre-order is up. So there's always that pinch point, right? Where it's like, all right, I can see where this rewrite's going to end, and I can set up that pre-order, and nothing's going to happen. And I think nothing's going to happen.
Dear universe, nothing's going to happen, right?
Dear universe, nothing. Well, look, here's the thing. I've already moved. I've already done, I've already taken a vacation. I've done the things that are going to take away weeks of my life. So yeah, so it's just me and the book now, and we're getting along well. I'm going to Alaska in a couple of weeks to teach a master course. So I'm excited for that. I just sort of booked my Airbnb last night, and it's been really funny. I don't know if anybody from the conference is. I'm trying to get recommendations from people at the conference and things I should do. I have 2 half days. What do I go to the museum? Do I go to with all these parks? What do you recommend? Nobody's giving me any recommendations. I don't know I don't know what to expect.
Have you just gone on to the Alaska, Chamber of Commerce or the travel website or whatever?
You know, at the Chamber of Commerce, they're trying to get you to buy T-shirts and hats and stuff. I don't want that. I want the real insider. Where do the insiders go hang out? You can usually find that stuff out, but for some reason, I'm not getting it. I think maybe they're waiting to meet me. And then when I get there, they'll be like, oh, he's okay.
Then I'll tell you about the place that we go.
Here's the cool places. I know that the best pizza, the place that wins the best pizza in America is in Anchorage. So I am going there for sure. Moose's Toot. I'll be there.
Moose's Toot.
Mrs. Toot. You got to love that name, don't you? So
Oh,
yeah, we'll
bathroom
see.
humor is so lovely.
I'm, I'm looking forward to it. I've never been to Alaska. I can't wait to go. So.
Oh my God. Well, you said before the show that you liked cold, so
I
it's
do.
gonna
And
be
it's going to be
cold.
last weekend in September. They're going to be a little colder than we are. So
Oh,
please, I've already looked at
you're
I've looked
going
at my
next
closet.
week?
No, in 2 weeks, like 2 weeks from 2 weeks from tomorrow, I'll be leaving. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's cool. The conference there, the Alaska Writers Guild conference, looks great. I was looking at the course offerings, and on Saturday, all the classes look interesting, different stuff. So I'm excited to go.
I'm going to be in a conference. So I just came back from Southwest Washington Writers Conference and last weekend. So that was really fun and they were amazing. And I do have another conference that I'm going to be teaching at next month in Edmonds, Washington.
Ooh, I want to hear about
And
that one because
and
I've
that
always wanted
one
to go.
that one's writing in the,
Writing on the Sound.
I think that's what it.
Yeah. It's beautiful up there. I've always wanted to go. It's like that's such a cool little town and area. So
that's exciting. I'll be doing that. And what else is happening in my world? Yeah, moving, flooring. I've told the story many times. So next week,
go to previous episodes.
Yeah, go to previous episodes, and I told you about the anthology. So it's just been, yeah, going to Centralia was really fun. I went with another author and we shared a room and we both spoke, and it was my first time speaking at a conference. So it was really special. And my first masterclass too. Okay, tiny little story. When you think masterclass, what do you think in your head, Zach? If you have you been to a masterclass before?
Just online.
Mm-hmm.
So
How many?
yeah.
He expects a Zoom room.
Yeah. Yeah, a series of lectures with like Q&As and yeah, interaction.
So if you're going, have you been to one like at a conference? This was a master class
at
a conference. Okay. What about
not.
you,
I
Erick?
expect lights and somebody announcing me with a bullhorn. Is that what's going to happen when I go to Alaska?
No. So
Damn.
the master classes that I've taken are usually these really intimate affairs. There's like 6 people, 10 people,
Right.
13 max, are all sitting down. Even the instructor is sitting down at the table. You're doing things a little bit more deep divey, you're talking specifically about your manuscript in certain places. So I had curated my information and imagined and visualized how I was going to do this with, 10 people. 40 people.
Wow. Whoa.
In a college like lectern, where I'm down here and there's the stadium seating up and I've got the giant like PowerPoint presentation behind me so big that I can like walk back and forth underneath it and I've got a mic, totally intimidating.
Pressure.
Yeah, the first 10 minutes, I don't even remember what I said. It was really bumbly and I was fumbling around trying to like reorganize how I was going to teach this because the way I planned it was totally not going to work. And yeah, I was really nervous at first, but it ended up being really great. People came up after me and were talking about their project and asking me questions and then like finding me later in the hallway and saying I did a great job. So I felt really positive about the experience. So, but yeah, that first 10 or 15 minutes was like, what? That's crazy. And they
it's
actually,
like the lecture room from
Melissa
a movie
Hart
about college
was
or something.
What?
Never, not that I was.
Melissa Hart was teaching the afternoon masterclass and she was driving on the, she was meeting me there. And so she was on her way and she asked like, how's it going? What's the room look like? And I told her and sent her a picture and was like, be prepared because we both had the same idea, master classes are little and, intimate. Nope. So it wasn't overwhelming, but it was like totally not what I expected. It's like, taking a drink of your, I don't know, kombucha and realizing it's beer or something, it's kind of like, whoa, totally not what I thought was going to happen.
The first time I taught a class live, it was in Northern California. I was at Crescent City, and I walked into my class. No one was there, and no one showed up. There was like
man.
5 other classes on the schedule. There's nobody showed up to mine, and I sat there and like dutifully for the first 10 minutes, like, all right, someone's going to show up, and nobody did. And the conference director came in and sat down, and he said, well, this happens sometimes. And I was actually put up against someone who was a really big local person, so everybody wanted to see that one. And then he sat there and pitched me his book, which was great. You know, it was kind of fun to just be, conference behavior took over. But yeah, your first one's always weird. It's just always so, it's atypical always.
Your first time. Okay. Good to know. So the next one, I'll just breeze right through, right?
You'll be fine.
Okay.
You'll be
fine. Edmonds, Washington. There's still time to sign up. Okay. Let's see. I can't seem to get into my novel that I'm reading right now, the Essex Serpent. That I think is because of the travel and the chaos, and I haven't had like a half an hour to like sit down and read where I'm not like in bed kind of falling asleep in between paragraphs. So I haven't given it a real go. I think I'm actually going to start it over from the beginning because I'm still like in the first 3 chapters or something, and I'm starting to forget who's who already. So that's not a good sign. So I think I might just start over, and when the floors are completely in, maybe this weekend I'll like, all right, let's test this book for realsies. But I'm also reading a book on coaching called Harness. Came recommended. I don't even remember who recommended it, but so I'm checking that out too, just in the first chapter. What about you, Eric? Are you still reading your magazine?
No, I'm reading In the Woods, Tana French.
Do you love it so far?
It's so good.
So when I started working at the bookstore, I think I told the story before, but Zach doesn't know maybe. When I first started working at the bookstore, I was kind of a little bit of a reading snob. I stuck with my genre and that was all I did. And I didn't foray out into, but that doesn't really work if you're a bookseller. So, because people come in and be like, hey, what do you recommend? I like this kind of stuff. And if you don't read it, you're like, or right. People would come in and say, I just read this book and I want something like it. What do you got?
Mm-hmm.
So I started, jumping out of my comfort zone and reading in other genres. But I really like that, like literary prose. I like the writing style that's kind of slower and more, not focused on setting, but, has that more character development. And I don't know, I just like that writing style. So when I forayed into the mystery genre, I looked around a little bit and that was one of the first ones I read because I kept hearing that Tana French was kind of, a little bit more literary in her writing. And so, yeah, I did like that book quite a bit.
It's good. Yeah. It's got sucked into it pretty easily. Yeah. And it fits like, someone that sort of ancestral trauma coming back and it's like fits everything that I love story wise. So yeah, I got pulled right in. I'm just gonna, again, this is a familiar riff for me, but like calling it like it's well written. It's like there's a focus on style, and I just for that to create distance for some readers just irks my English major heart a little bit. It's like we as authors have some. We can create style. We can choose to fit the genre. We can choose to go outside of it. I don't know. I just think that's so. The people are like, well, I don't like that. That's literary. Like, that means it's just different. Like, I don't know. Zach, how do you feel about that?
I also like read widely, and I can't do too much of the same thing at the same time. Like literally, like I just had, just because of a genre that I'm working on, I've been reading a lot of romantasy and urban fantasy with romance. And then I had several of those, and then I was like, all right, that's a little bit of little bit of fluff, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of Cheetos. Like I need some meat and potatoes. And so I started.
Cheetos are good.
Yeah,
wait,
Cheetos
don't
are
harm on
great.
Cheetos, Zach. Come on.
But one cannot live on Cheetos alone.
I know. And
And
then we
so
really like
now
the
I'm
flaming hot Cheetos.
Tell that to
and that's
23-year-old
kind of
me.
like...
So then I jumped into Parable of the Sower.
Okay.
So now I'm reading that along with I always have beta reads and arc reads going at a time, and I almost never announce the names of those just because there's a chance that the book title is going to change.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
that
true,
early
yeah.
on in the process. I found that out once. I really tried to hype up a book that I was really behind and I was really pumped about it. And then they were like, oh, by the way, the title changed. And I was like, oh, okay. All right.
All that
Let's
work
see if
I
I
did.
can divert the hype, divert that trend.
That's what you just gave us a genre. When you said romantasy, we both went like
I'm writing that down.
writing that down.
So romantasy is actually probably my specialty, my wheelhouse as a fiction writer. I actually host TikTok lives every Monday night. It's called Romantasy Reads. If you go strictly by the subgenre rules, and a lot of people disagree with it because it is a pretty new term. It's high fantasy with a focus on romance.
Okay.
But in general, any form of fantasy with romance is what we cover on Romantasy Reads. But yeah, so urban fantasy with romance is really what I write under Zachary Jeffries. And I absolutely love it. I fell in love with it by reading like Holly Black and The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater and a bunch of those books. And it's kind of the alternative to paranormal romance that was like so hot in the 90s and the aughts.
It's still hot now, right?
So according to trends like K-lytics and stuff, that's actually trending downward, and romantasy and fantasy romance is trending upwards because those aren't, I think the reason is because those aren't as explicitly defined. To be paranormal romance, you need things like vampires and shifters. You need very specific mythological beings versus...
Wait, I'm sorry, I need to interrupt. Did you say urban fantasy was trending down or paranormal romance was trending down?
Oh, I'm sorry, I might have misspoke. Paranormal romance is trending down.
Okay.
Is not as big as it was. And taking the market share is fantasy romance, which is just less defined. Like I have a book, I write a lot of stuff with like witches, and that's not necessarily paranormal romance, but it is fantasy romance. I have a Grim Reaper Greek Fate love story, and that is technically fantasy romance or urban fantasy romance and not paranormal romance.
Okay.
But they're still really big market shares.
So
I only say this, part of the reason I feel like that urban fantasy. So one of my marketing gaffes when I write paranormal mystery, which, you know, for me is X-Files, Twin Peaksy type of stuff. Well, I didn't know that like paranormal and supernatural like got really like intertwined with the romance thing. That was my introduction to choose your, you know, adjective carefully, because, you know, I was marketing my stuff around these books that just didn't fit. And so I was having a really hard time until I found like what that thread was, a much smaller thread and more niche thread. But anyway, I guess I have like a PTSD thing with this like paranormal romance. It's like anytime I see a good looking vampire on the cover of a book, I get like twitches and things. So because I was marketing against you and I can't win.
So Zach, I haven't even read your bio yet, but I want to capture all of these recommendations. I know we're just kind of all over the place, but I do want to capture some of these recommendations. Can you repeat? So you said you host TikTok lives every week. How do
Monday
people
nights.
Monday nights?
I wrote that down. I'm doing that.
On all my socials, I'm Jeffries Books. So if I'm there on that social platform, I am Jeffries Books. I do that as a brand just because I have several pen names, and they're all a form of Z Jeffries, Zachary Jeffries, Zach Jeffries.
Okay.
So yeah, if I'm there, I'm Jeffries Books. Monday nights starting at 9:30 Eastern. We run about an hour and a half. It's really talk show vibe. We kind of do what you guys do, where we just kind of banter in the beginning and catch people up on what we're up to. Then we have a Q&A. We do games that involve the guests or the audience. Sometimes we do panels. And then we'll do, we call it a schmiveaway because of the TikTok algorithm. It's the language that you use to avoid words that gets flagged by the algorithm. So we'll do a giveaway. Usually it's a book, but we also do like t-shirts every once in a while and fun stuff like that.
Okay. So let me officially read your bio, and then we can start asking more questions too.
Please.
All right. Zachary Jeffries hails from the southeastern United States, where his first jobs were lawnmower, pizza cook, and stable hand. Ooh, that must have been smelly. His overactive imagination and love for reading led to various routes of storytelling through improv, screenwriting, and the Chicago theater scene. After working under a myriad of names, Jeffries now writes contemporary young adult fantasy brimming with tropes, humor, and action. Along with The Unseen Curse and Angel of Fate, Jeffries also publishes middle grade books under the pen name Z Jeffries. You can read books from either pseudonym by signing up at zjeffries.com. Welcome, Zach.
Thank you. I'm super pumped to be here. I have been listening to this podcast for a while. I really appreciate what you guys do. We talked about it a little bit, Valerie, how this is a catch-all. It's not just specifically craft. It's not just specifically business. And I feel like this is a great podcast, no matter where you are in your publishing journey. I think if you're brand spanking new, I think you can learn a lot about what's ahead of you and what to think about. And then I think if you are a jaded veteran, you can seek, solidarity and stuff like that. But I do want to say, if you're listening to this, if you watch this, please take a moment. Make sure you're liking these things. Make sure you're reviewing these things. Make sure you're subscribing these things. This helps them continue to give us all this fantastic free content, because it could be really easy for Valerie to be like, oh yeah, I know about that. You got to sign up for my class. And that's the only way you get that information. But she is sharing, and they're very giving with this. Erick's out here teaching, getting paid to go teach in Alaska. And he could be like, if you want to learn, then buy a ticket to Alaska. But instead, they're sharing these resources with us, and they're being very honest and vulnerable about their process and what they're up to. And I just really think it's a great resource for writers, no matter where you are on there. And it really just takes very little time to say, I like this, recommend it to your writing critique group, recommend it to your critique partner, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff.
Wow, thank you. That's
Bang.
glowing praise. That might
see
be
that the
the
check
teaser
cashed.
to the
That's
next episode. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so let me
Thank you for that.
Yeah. So your bio didn't list anything about your fantasy stuff that the adult fantasy that you write.
So I have like quiet adult fantasy off to the side.
Okay.
It's a completely different name. If you're talking about my fantasy romance, that's my YA stuff.
Oh, okay.
It's sweet. There's no spice, there are no warnings for anything like that.
Okay.
It's teenagers that are in over their heads against supernatural dark forces, and you just want them to shut up and kiss.
That's awesome. High fantasy with romantic story with teenagers. And then you also have a secret pen name for the fantasy romance.
Yeah, that's off to the side.
Off to the side.
We're not going there.
You don't have to worry about that.
Okay, cool. Your TikTok stuff sounds really interesting. I have never been on TikTok, but this might push me into looking at that social media.
I like how your approach to social media as it is, that you're more of a, you go in, you post what you need to, you check your alerts, and you're out, and not getting sucked in. I think that's fantastic. I think just whatever social media is right for you and how you can use it and work within your plan as a writer and promoting and marketing yourself. I think whatever works for you is what works for you. And I found out that I really did like TikTok, and some of the other platforms weren't for me, so they're pretty much copied off of what I do on TikTok.
So when did you start writing, or we're going to talk about writing prompts, non-traditional writing prompts today. So when did you start getting involved in that and working on kind of like the nonfiction side?
So I was in a writers group, and it was an amazing writers group. I really enjoyed it. And we started every meeting with a 10-minute prompt. And there was a prompt, and you free wrote for 10 minutes. And then if you wanted to share, you could. And I disliked that part. That was my least favorite part of the group. I felt.
Did you always show up 10 minutes late to your writers group then?
You stole my.
I should have, honestly. That was the easy fix. I should have thought of that. But I felt pressure to get something done that's interesting on a first draft, and my rough drafts are rough. My first drafts are rough, and my rough drafts are first. So I was never comfortable sharing. I felt guilty about putting in words towards something else when I had this work in progress that needed words off to the side. I started doubting myself and thinking, maybe writing's not for me if I can't do writing prompts, which everyone that writes seems to do. If I can't do that, maybe it's not for me. And it led to a lot of anxiety and negative feelings and stuff. A little while later, I was trying to start up another writing group after moving, and I found that I did want that jumpstart of writing prompts in the beginning to get people going, but I started writing different kinds, where instead of giving you an idea of like a story seed, rather give you something to focus on while you're writing about whatever you want to write about. So you have this story that you're working on, you're on chapter 15 or something like that. What would happen if you focused on how the ground feels under the character's feet or something like that? Or what if you did a tableau where you started with a really far zoom out, and then you got more and more specific with what the perspective character is looking at, or something like that. And basically take the pressure on the what has to happen, what's happening in the next scene, or the plot points, or those aspects, and really just give a new lens to look through when writing your next scene. And so fast forward to, I collected a lot of those. I started teaching, or not really teaching, but doing NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month talks at my local libraries. And I started giving out a bunch of those prompts there, and I had good feedback. And then last year for NaNoWriMo on TikTok, I did a prompt every day, and not necessarily every day. The goal was a prompt every day. And I've been doing that since last November. I've been trying to do a prompt every day. It probably averages something closer to like 4 a week. I gave myself a hashtag Z prompt. If you're on TikTok, look up hashtag Z prompt. All of them are there. And it was me just popping on, say, hey, I've got a writing prompt for you. This is an aspect of story or even real life that I find interesting or important, or a pattern that I see. So what if in your next scene you focused on it in this way? So rather than giving you an idea, just a lens through which to see it. And I started getting really good feedback. the views really started blowing up. And it was just one of those things that I found that I was not alone in disliking traditional writing prompts and getting anxiety from it. And then the most surprising was there were a lot of neurodivergent authors who reached out to me and said, oh yeah, there's no way that I can do a writing prompt, a traditional writing prompt, because I will become hyper focused and I will not be able to tear myself away from this other story seed until I have seen it all the way through.
Right.
And then I have zero momentum to go back to whatever I was writing anyway. And it also was this source of anxiety, guilt, shame, even imposter syndrome, like I had, like maybe this isn't for me. And then before you know it, people were saying, when are you going to turn this into a book? And that was amazing for me because I have never had someone asking for a book from me. I am 7 books deep right now. I have out, and the fact that this was the first time that someone was like, we want this, give us this. And it was nice because all of them were workshopped a little already. They were already out there as videos, and sometimes people reply with what they wrote based on the prompt. Some people reply with, someone told me, I had a prompt similar to that in high school and I wrote a poem about it. And it really became this fun little community that I really appreciated, and they supported me moving forward and making this into a book. And thanks to them, thanks to this fantastic community, it's my first time I got the Amazon orange ribbon for a new release. Very excited about that. And it's because of this fun little community that rallied around and said, oh, me too. I also dislike traditional writing prompts, and they hurt more than help. So it was just really nice to feel that I wasn't alone on that.
That's interesting.
Super exciting.
I've always hated writing prompts too. I feel like it's that thing where if I don't, like, I guess like it's because this is no writer flex. This is just my reality. Like I'm always writing a story in my head or on paper. There's actually always a story that I'm sad that I'm not working on. So the writing prompt always puts pressure to like add to that already tenuous balance. So like, I like the idea of it. Think of it as, use this prompt as a way into your existing story instead of, I think that's an interesting
I like that too.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like writing prompts, but I don't do them. So I guess what I'm saying is when forced into them, like if I were in a writing group where that happened,
but I don't do it.
But yeah. Or if I'm at I don't know, like sometimes when you go to conferences, they have you do writing exercises in the class, and I know that some people that throws them and they're like, oh, but wait, I'm not ready to write yet. And where there is some of that like little knee-jerk reaction, I do appreciate the take off the editor brain process and really dive into something that I know is not going to be good. It is rough draft. And, I probably won't read it out loud in class, but I like the challenge of just diving in and being able to write something that I don't normally write. And so I do like the idea of writing prompts, but it's not part of my regular writing practice.
Yeah. And I mean, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, like, if writing prompts were not your thing, what is your native prompt? Like what prompts you to write just normally? Like, where do you get your ideas from? If you could narrow it down.
Oh, me? Yeah. I'm a big proponent of boredom. I really like giving myself some monotonous, mindless tasks so that my mind can wander. And I think up regular things. I'm also one of those guys that I can read or consume media, and then at the end of it, just think, oh, that was cool. But what if it were about flying horses? And just like think about one tiny change and then think about the implication. I actually have, I would not say it's a paranormal mystery, but I have an urban fantasy magical murder mystery. And that one completely stemmed from, there's an old movie called Copland that
Oh
I
yeah.
absolutely love. It's one of my favorite films. And I remember watching it once and I was like, huh, what if that was about wizards and not police officers? And from there, I eventually, it was a story seed for a while, and it was a failed attempt at a novel for a while, but eventually it became The Unseen Curse, and I absolutely love it. And that is, in a way, a non-traditional writing prompt. Is if, you know, taking a lens and looking through something that you're already familiar with, and then thinking, oh, what if this changes? What if this is different? And I have no hate whatsoever towards people that like writing prompts. I think whatever is your whatever tools work for you. Like, that's why there's no one singular way to write. That's why it's great that these guys show fallibility and vulnerability when they are finding out things in their own process. That's why that's so great, because the minute that you run into someone that says, I know the way to do it, and only I can teach you this one singular way to write, run from that person.
That
I
becomes
agree.
really exclusive.
Yeah.
I think, you know, it really blocks out people that can't learn that way or can't work that way or has life experiences that prevent them from working that way.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, if you love the traditional writing prompts and you have your prompt a day book that you go to, then maybe this isn't for you. If you want writing prompts just randomly, I really recommend going looking up #ZPrompt on TikTok. I also, my newsletter that you can sign up at Jeffries Books, jeffriesbooks.com or zjeffries.com. At the bottom of each of my newsletters, I do one of my writing prompts in there. So you don't have to buy a book. You can just access these yourself. What I did with the book is I organized it according to different aspects. I organized it according to character arc, relationships, plot, world building, and theme. Yeah.
So you've got a writing prompt based on the story element rather than some obscure idea.
Yeah, and it's also supposed to be for either drafting or revising. So if you have a book that you've already written and you are doing revision passes, maybe someone has read it and says, I really like it, but the relationships are a little lacking. Then you can just go through the relationship chapter, and you can pick a prompt and it will give you a lens to look through as you are doing your revision pass, and you can focus on this one lens, this one way of looking at a relationship.
This is fantastic. This is super interesting. I'm really excited about reading this book.
I want to get really meta with you. What prompts you to come up with a new writing prompt? And I'm not joking. Like, for me, that would be like the hardest thing. Like, what makes a good prompt? And like, when you're cooking dinner, do you sit there and go, oh, like, here would be a good prompt? I mean, is that how it works for you? Tell us how you get these.
Well, a lot of them are for myself. I know that the concept of writer's block is a lot of people have a bunch of different ideas behind it, but I think we can all agree that writing momentum is good, and sometimes you don't have writing momentum. And when I don't have writing momentum, I just work on not focusing on plot myself. I find if I am losing momentum, that I'm too focused on plot and the story is not going in the perfect direction that I want it. And so usually what I do is I'll just take a step back and I'll focus on something on character. Either where is the main character, prospective character on their arc, or the relationships with other characters. And if I focus on that, I am familiar enough with story structure that I will do the plot on autopilot. Like, I will subconsciously put the building blocks where they need to for escalation, but then I can focus on this other thing. So I have those focuses, and I'll realize like, oh, what I did was I focused on how a character hides their surprise when talking to another character. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be like, I am your father, surprise. It can just be like, oh, this morning I woke up and had tea instead of coffee. I'm like, oh, so how does the prospective character deal with that? How do they mentally process that as they are moving forward in whatever the scene is?
That's
Another
awful thing to do to a character. Like if you want coffee in the morning, Zach, you've got to have coffee in the morning. Tea does not cut it. I'm sorry.
And then I
no offense to tea.
No, hey, tea drinkers, you're welcome here.
Good.
And
That's
then
probably the majority of the population of the world actually drinks more
that's
tea
true.
than coffee.
That's true.
All of our Chinese listeners are just like turned off.
And then I try to pay attention what the media I'm consuming is doing. I really like the details, and I take a lot from visual media. What they decide to focus the camera on as far as storytelling goes, because I feel like oftentimes we kind of miss that in writing, whether we're really deep in a perspective and are only worrying about thoughts, whether we're worrying about our theme, what we are saying as a writer, or even if we're kind of on like the screenplay playwriting side of it and it's really dialogue driven. I think there are really amazing visual cues, and you can learn from other media about how you can focus on a visual thing and remember, oh, I remember when we picked out this ring and something like that. And even if you don't use a flashback or that memory, that's going to give you a lens to look through as you are moving forward in the scene.
So
I love it.
Yeah, I can't wait to read this book. So
I
let's
just
pitch it really
pre-ordered
quick. Like it's on pre-order right now. When does it come
Yeah.
out? October 20th.
Yes, it's
24th.
coming out. It's coming out in
Yes.
October. Originally, it was in November. I am arguing with Amazon to move it back because I would like to have it out before National Novel Writing Month.
Yeah.
So that is
Be
the
careful
goal
with
right
that
now.
pre-order jumble. But they get
Well,
ooh.
I know they get mad. I've never
They will
moved a pre-order
suspend-
before.
Yeah, they will suspend your ability to put a book on pre-order for 1 year if you do it twice. I had to do that. They assured me that the second time is the problem. So just be wary.
But he's not extending it. He's bringing
my
it forward.
question is it moving it?
Oh.
Is it in any direction, or is it only moving it out? Because if I get Mr. Bezos his money sooner, I don't think he's going to get mad at me.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, the boilerplate language I got was they are committed to the customer service. They want people to get the thing they expect. I guess that sooner would be better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this. So do you have any experience working with neurodivergent people? I have experience, professionally, and I have a person I know who I'm buying this book for. But was this intentional? Was it a happy accident? How have you used, how have you connected those dots?
It was definitely a happy accident. I do have some real world experience with neurodivergent people, specifically a long time ago as a camp counselor, doing theater and drama camp with neurodivergent kids. That was a lot of fun. But my longtime critique partner is neurodivergent, and her feedback has always been super helpful and very surprising. Like always, it's me thinking like, oh, I wouldn't even think of it like that. And it really, really pushed me as a writer, I believe, to take a step back a good amount of times and really think about how an audience member is going to connect, relate, absorb and internalize all these things. But yeah, once I started posting it, posting these prompts, a lot of people were like, I'm neurodivergent. I can't do traditional writing prompts. So when it came time to beta read, finding beta readers, I really focused on getting a lot of neurodivergent beta readers. I have autistic and ADHD specifically beta readers, and that has been just unbelievably helpful. Just you couldn't put a price on how helpful this has been, and it really, I'm in the throes of reorganizing how the ebook is going to work, because I want to make it as accessible as possible. And so we are filling it with hyperlinks. So there are a lot of prompts that are repeated, that the initial question of what would happen in your next scene if your main character or prospective character came upon this or thought about this or whatever. And that may show up in plot and world building, but then there are questions about the implications and how it can affect the scene. And that's going to be specific to plot or world building. That's where they differ. But then I had a beta reader with ADHD that said, well, if I love this, if I become fixated on this specific prompt, I want to be able to use it every way that I can. So I need hyperlinks right there so I can jump to where it is in plot and where it is in character. So it became a big formatting challenge, and I've learned more about formatting in this book than any of my previous books. But I mean, that's if this is the community that is going to appreciate it, and these are the readers, then I want to make it accessible to the readers. And it's been just absolutely eye-opening. And it's kind of, like I said, this was a book that was asked for the first time. That's very, very humbling and exciting for me. So I want to give the book for the folks that have been asking for the book. And if they have a specific format that's going to make it easier for them to take in this book, then let's do this.
So how are you? So is the ebook different than the paperback? Which one should I get? This is what I'm trying to.
Oh, it's not different. It literally is just hyperlinking. So at the end of any given prompt in the paperback, it's going to say, use this prompt for plot, use this prompt for character arc, and then you can flip the page to that. Whereas if you are reading the ebook, you can just click it.
Okay, and it will just take you to a different place in the book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I like that. We were talking a little bit earlier about how sort of kind of heavy-handed marketing can be in the writing world. Like, I have the answer, I have the answer, I have the answer. And I like how you've solved you've addressed a problem that you didn't know was there. Like you found an audience for something in a very organic way and responded to it. I think that's just for, like, when I think about marketing, I think that's just the most satisfying feeling of, like, oh, I didn't know this was my audience, but here it is. And that has to feel great. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's really awesome. It's everyone and thank you out there, anyone that has ever commented or shared or liked one of the #Z prompts. I can't say how much that was great for me, as far as making me more confident and inspiring me to keep doing those, as well as, like, I'm finding value in these. When I don't have my writing momentum, I use all of these prompts, and there's no way I would have all of these collected and organized on my own. I'm not a collect and organize kind of guy. So I would never have it
Valerie
this accessible to myself if it weren't for you guys.
That's
There's
awesome.
a book that it's not on my shelf because I don't have shelves. I would go grab it, but it's in a pile. But a book that I go to a lot just for little grab and inspiration. It's Catching the Big Fish, Meditation, Consciousness, and Creativity by David Lynch. And he talks, I mean, it's very David Lynch. So either you love him or you hate him, but he has a lot of that book is about like, follow the idea and see where the idea takes you versus like decide where you want to go and then find the idea to fit that destination. And I feel like a lot of the writing market, especially the 20 books, I love the 20 books to 50K. I've learned a lot from those folks, but I feel like a lot of it is, here's the market. What can I write to fit that market? And I don't know. I don't know if that's like where great things come from all the time. I feel like following that impulse when it's there is, I don't know, I guess to me more natural. So again, like I feel like you probably are going to find some success with this beyond this book, right? I mean, I think this is going to be an evergreen concept for you.
I have.
I was about to say, yeah, I literally told this book to my aunt, who is an educator, the other day, and she was immediately like, "Oh, this book is for kids," and I'm like, "No, not specifically, but like,
but the light went on.
A kid
like,
could use it." And she's like,
yeah.
"Oh, okay, so we need to do one for kids. We need to do one for neurodivergent kids." I had already planned on eventually, because I'm still trying to do these prompts every single day. So since I finally, put the foot down, was like, all right, these are the prompts that I'm using, I still have a collection that aren't making it into the book. So I'm going to probably continually do this. I do want to organize how I organize this one as far as aspects of the building blocks of stories and stuff. I do want to make one that is writing a book start to finish, that is literally, given circumstances, inciting incident, rising action,
that would be
climax,
so cool.
and falling action.
I love
like
it.
within prompts. And then it looks like I'm going to be doing one for kids too.
You could do the one where people write that guides you through a book, and then have like a contest of like who wrote, not a contest, but like a showcase or a publishing. Oh my gosh. Have your people call my people.
I love it.
So my question, actually, maybe you just answered it. I don't know. So I was wondering if you could use this prompting to see if your story has legs. Like, I have this new story idea. I haven't even fully outlined it yet, but before I commit to, spending the next year with this story idea, would prompting help me with that at all, to see if it's really got legs?
Yeah. So I might get real woo-woo with this for a second.
I dig woo-woo. Yes.
It's cool.
I don't put woo-woo on here very often because of, fear of rejection, but I am total woo-woo behind the scenes.
Cool. I think if you think you would like to write a book, I think you can write a book. Period. I think it's a matter of finding the right tools and finding a way to stay motivated. But and I understand, I myself have more unfinished books than finished and published books, because it took me a while to find the right tools and stuff.
Yeah.
I think if you have an idea for a story that you love, I think you can do it. Period. End of sentence. If you love it, if you are interested, I think it has legs. I think you have to find the right tools. I think you have to have the right ingredients to fill out the book. Like, I was just thinking, I made green pancakes for my daughter this morning. And I was just thinking, when you guys mentioned I worked in a stable, we built a fence one year. And I can't build a fence with batter and a spatula and a frying pan. I need wood, nails, and post hole digger, and like a whole summer in the Georgia heat. But I can do it with the right tools. And I think very often, especially when we find like one size fits all, like writing systems or things like that, we think, oh, I have to use these tools in order to do it. No, you have to find the tools that are right for you. This prompt book is not absolute answers. This prompt book is, again, a lens through which to look, a way to look at what you are doing that takes the pressure off of what you are doing, lets you walk across the tightrope without focusing on the tightrope or without focusing on the balance. If you soft focus about other things, then your instincts can help you balance, then your instincts can help you find the tightrope. So I think if you are uncertain of a story, but if you love it, if you are interested and love this story seed, I do think that prompts can help. I do think if you love traditional prompts, I think those can help. If you don't love traditional prompts, I think this book of non-traditional prompts can help. There's also there's a story development exercise at the back that can give you more aspects of a story that you can then fold in and combine and make that work. But yes, I think if you have an idea, and maybe it's only one of the aspects, maybe it's only the world or the setting, or maybe it's only a character or a relationship, or maybe it's only a plot, you can jump to these other aspects within the book and figure out how to fill out the rest, or a way of looking at the rest so it makes sense to you, to give yourself the ingredients, to give yourself.
That can help you outline the book then too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's awesome. Help with outlining. This has been fantastic. I have not thought about prompting in this way before. I am super excited to read this book and all of the other cool book ideas that you have in this series. So make sure you write those, Zach.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Pressure's on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a bit of pressure right there.
Sorry. Well, to take the pressure off that, is there let's do your plug for the book, the pre-order. Is there anything else besides the book that you want to plug?
Oh man, I got too much stuff going on. So Breakthrough to the End is the name of the book. It is on pre-order now, wherever you buy nice, fine books that you love. The pre-order is up on the major retailers. However, I always encourage people to order through your local library. If you have a locally owned mom and pop bookstore, please support them. Go in, they can order it. I publish through Ingram Spark, so it's widely available. If you don't want to buy the book, you don't have to buy the book. You can look under #ZPrompt on TikTok, and you can find absolutely every single one of these prompts. It's me just talking to you. It starts with, hey, I've got a writing prompt for you. That's my face saying those things, and then you're in the right place. You can join my newsletter on zjeffries.com or jeffriesbooks.com. And again, I'm going to put a prompt at the bottom of every single one of those. So wherever you are, I'm going to try to meet you with that. I have my urban fantasy with sweet romance. I have a lot of that just in time for spooky season. I have The Unseen Curse, the magical murder mystery. This is a great time of year. If you like bookstores and witches, man, is this the book for you? And then also on pre-order coming out Valentine's Day is going to be my sequel to Angel of Fate, which is my Reaper Greek Fate love story. And this is going to be two different types of witches falling in love and falling into a generational war between gods and man. And that is called Angel of God's End. And that is by Zachary Jeffries. So again, Breakthrough to the End, Zach Jeffries. You look it up, that's going to be me. It's this beautiful big orange book. Available for pre-order now. And then I also have Angel of God's End available for pre-order at Zachary Jeffries.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Zach. This was really fun.
Great.
I'm really glad.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
and again,
I love it.
I love you guys as a resource. And if you're like me and you love these guys, please make sure you subscribe. Please tell a buddy, pick someone else that is as obsessed with writing as you are, and let them know all about it. And make sure you're leaving reviews.
All right. Thanks so much. Bye for now.
Take care.